From pixelated games to realistic environments and characters, we can see that graphics are moving towards hyper-realism. These giant leaps of technological advancement have also affected architectural visualizations. With each software upgrade, 3D renderings are becoming more and more lifelike, and with the addition of real-world imperfections such as scratches, splinters, and stains, they are often confused with real photographs. Today, these realistic renders are often favored and celebrated in student and professional renderings. But where has this love for realism come from? Thank you to Milanote for sponsoring today's video, but more on that later. During the development of photography, some people predicted that art would disappear because it surpassed painting in its ability to represent reality. But we all know that realistic art survived, and artists continue to strive to imitate what we see. But why? What's with this never-ending fascination with realism? There was an art historical movement called realism, and it emerged in Western Europe in the mid-19th century, precisely about the time that photography was growing and infiltrating every area of our life. Gustave Courbet's realism is widely considered the opposite of idealism. It protested mythical or legendary subject matter, as well as the Romantic movement's heightened emotionalism and drama. Instead, it attempted to reflect actual and typical contemporary people and circumstances as accurately and truthfully as possible, and without neglecting the ugly parts of life. Emotions were central to Romantic painting. Whatever the subject, Romantic art tries to make the audience experience beauty, whether it's the majestic beauty of nature or dramatic moments from history and mythology. A Funeral at Ormans launched Courbet to fame overnight, since it marked the end of the Romantic aesthetic. A Funeral at Ormans is a large artwork representing a funeral in Courbet's hometown. Its size is often reserved for historic painting depicting significant events. This artwork, on the other hand, depicts ordinary, mostly living people. Typically, Romanticism, depicting paintings of the working class, was in an idealized manner. Peasant life was portrayed as joyful and full of simple pleasures. Surprisingly, these works were popular with the wealthy, who preferred the idea of a contented working class over the realities of poor living conditions. A Funeral at Ormans lacks idealized drama or heightened emotions like Romanticism. Instead, we get stern expressions, glum poses, and the outcome is far from romantic. If this were a standard Romanticism painting, it would be a funeral for a tragic character instead of some guy at Ormans. There would be bawling women, throwing themselves on the throne, and eulogies chanted by a choir. And a burial at Ormans would very certainly be referred to as the burial at Ormans. This lack of importance in Courbet's work is deliberate. It indicates that common people's lives were equally as significant as the lives of society's elite and privileged. The goal of realism as a movement was to represent the world as it is, rather than how we desire it to be. But it wasn't about painting in a photorealistic style. That was referred to as naturalism. Consider realism to be more focused on story, whereas naturalism was more interested in the aesthetic appearance. But how does this relate to architectural visualization? One tool that has helped with the process of this video and organizing my research, ideas, and images is Milanote. This program has entirely altered my workflow into a fluid and fun process. Milanote is a place where you can collect and organize all your thoughts, ideas, make checklists of everything that must be done, scribble, write, draw lines, paste images, and create a visual direction for any project. When you're ready to share your work, you can invite colleagues and clients to provide comments and interact in real time. And getting started is super simple with over 100 built-in templates for designers, photographers, filmmakers, and others. Finally, Milanote is completely free and has no time restriction, so start your next creative project by signing up using the link in the description box. For the record, I'm not referring to realistic perspectives that are obviously computer-generated. I'm referring to the images that are so realistic you're not sure if they're a photo or not. So to begin with, realism, the art movement, demonstrates how distant most architectural visualization are from true realism. On an artistic ground, realism entails telling things like they are. In contrast, the goal of architectural visualization is to sell a dream, and they tend to portray a highly idealized version of a desired reality. On the one hand, a visualization can accurately depict the design of a proposal. Even the best software, however, can't recreate the precise condition of that area and how the materials would appear in real life. And as a result, what you see is not always what you get. Simultaneously, the precision of representation may be modified to display the design in the best light possible in order to persuade the observer of its worth. Renderers often use tricks like low cloud coverage to make buildings appear far taller than they are. In an arguably more harmful phenomenon known as greenwashing, certain designers have been known to overgreen the structures, decking out skyscrapers with outside plants on every story. While some designs have been successful, many of these tree scrapers would be very difficult to produce at such scales. To support the added weight of the trees, additional concrete and steel reinforcements are necessary, as are irrigation systems to hydrate the plants. These renderings are also inaccessible to most architects and students, as large firms have dedicated teams, professional state-of-the-art computers, powerful and expensive, and creating a single hyper-realistic rendering can take days if not weeks to execute. This is beyond the reach of individual designers, small firms of freelancers and students. While these renderings certainly affect the public and their viewers, they also create challenges and obstacles for the artists creating them. In the pursuit of creating hyper-realistic renderings, artists must overcome these challenges. The most difficult one is understanding light, as much of the work is based on physics. Understanding textures, understanding scale. We mustn't forget sourcing high-quality 3D models or licensing for the softwares. Even yet, a visual depiction cannot completely replicate the experiences and the emotions of the real environment. We struggle to tell the difference between what is a rendering and what is not. Or rather, we are able to tell a slight difference, and it leaves us slightly uncomfortable. Mori coined the phrase uncanny valley after seeing that the more human-like robots seemed, the more appealing they were, but only up to a point. When a robot approaches the uncanny valley, extremely near but not quite a genuine human, it becomes unsettling, and we are left with an uneasy mixture of confusion and repulsion. During preliminary screenings of the animated picture Shrek, the arrival of Princess character Fiona led youngsters to cry. The producers recognized that her realistic look was causing her to slide into the uncanny valley territory, so they changed the character's appearance to be more cartoon-like to remove this unpleasant impact. This notion is relevant to the realm of architectural rendering, and as a profession that relies on pictures to sell an idea or a concept, it's worth investigating how it expresses itself and how it may be avoided. When everything in an architectural rendering is too perfect, the uncanny valley might appear. Impossibly polished surfaces, joyful expressions on the characters, lack of diversity, or overly diverse characters serving as checkbox exercises might push it into the uncanny valley. With the advancement of technology and the growing influence of virtual and augmented reality, perhaps the uncanny valley will one day be simpler to cross. But meanwhile, perhaps it is better to stay on the side of caution and stylize architectural renderings, rather than attempting to achieve a realism that is difficult to achieve. There is no definite answer on what type or style of presentation is better. One thing for sure is that realistic renders are not the only type of presentation available to architects and students. This article by Studio Alternativi highlights 15 successful architectural offices that create non-realistic drawings. My personal favorite office is Surgeson Bates Architects, because they are unique in that they have realized the important function that pictures and images play in their architectural work. They demonstrate a conceptual and visual character tied to everyday life experiences and a sensibility near to realism. The decision on where to draw the line between render and reality rests with those making these pictures, the information they're given, and the desires of the client. Some will employ cutting-edge technology to bring their ideas to life, while others will build their own reality. That's not the fault of the technology, which is designed to provide visuals as close to reality as possible, but of the people who use it. The crucial thing to remember is that the architect or the artist, photographer, the developer must combine marketing with integrity and honesty in order to prevent false advertising in their work.